Hi everybody, my name is Randy Kaufman. I'm a professional civil engineer in my state, and as you notice, we got a lot of different engineering pictures in the backgrounds of things we've built through the years, and we're going to go over a lot of different types of engineering. We're going to go over how things are built, why they're built that way, and if you have any comments or anything like you'd like to see on the program, just leave some comments and I'll try to get it on. Okay everybody, the first thing I want to talk about is global warming. Everybody says mankind does no global warming at all. Well, almost an entire energy comes from the sun. And the sun's actually in a cooling phase right now, but our temperatures keep rising. And people say we don't do any amount of global warming at all. But everybody got to realize that's just not common sense. It can't be reality. If you go out and you light a fire in your house, of course your house is going to get warmer. Now, if you throw another blanket on yourself, of course, the blanket's going to keep you warmer. And we're doing both of that. We're actually throwing a blanket on because we actually produce more greenhouse gases with CO2s, but we also burn a tremendous amount of energy every year. Now, we burn 14,000 million barrels of oil worth of energy every year. Now that's not all oil. That's electricity, that's everything that we do. Now that's enough energy that we can raise all the oceans, all the water on the planet, the atmosphere, all the ice that's stored up. We can raise it up by 1 degree centigrade. That's about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, all that energy does not get released into the water, of course. Some of it goes into your ground, some of it is radiated back out into space, but still that's a tremendous amount of energy. And the energy that we use, some of it is going to go into your water. Just like when you take a hot shower, that water goes back into your sewer system, goes back out into your water table. You've heated the water up to 135, 140 degrees, and it actually adds temperature to your water. There's no way you can keep away from that. I mean, everybody will say, oh, but this is so insignificant compared to the earth. And it is. I mean, the earth is a big place and it has a lot of ice. And if everybody knows that when you go in and you get ice and you put it in a cup, the ice is going to sit there and it's going to keep the water around it at 32 degrees until all the ice melts. But if you have the ice in the top of the glass and it's warm, and the bottom of the glass, the water actually will start getting warmer if the place is warm and it's not insulated well. And our ice is in the North Pole, it's in the South Pole, but it's not much anywhere else. So you get around the equator, the water's quite warm. So we have to look at the fact that, yeah, we're burning energy all the time. All that energy is getting released into our atmosphere, it's getting released into our water, it's getting released into our grounds, and we do a lot of it. And we've been doing this not for 9 years, and of course our energy demands have grown every year, but we've been doing this for 100 years. And of course, back 100 years ago, our energy demands were not very much, not compared to today, but our energy consumption keeps growing every year, and we keep pumping more and more energy into our environment. And now this is not energy that's coming from our sun. Now I'm going to talk about later on about a net sum zero effect. And as energy engineer knows about this is the same thing we do for water, because if we push too much water off of a subdivision into the ground and into your ditches and all that, we're going to cause erosion and we're going to cause flooding. So what we had to do, we had to balance our water. But we can't balance our heat. There's no place you can store heat. So it just goes into our environment. And even if only 30% of this energy is retained in the water table, or even 20%, you have to understand that, okay, instead of every 9 years, it's going to take every 50 years. But we raise the water up by 1 centigrade by doing this. And of course, the more you raise the water temperature up, of course, it creates more water vapor. And water vapor itself is a greenhouse effect. I mean, it's real logical. I mean, when you go to a desert, the heat in the desert is really hot in the day, but at night it freezes because there's no water vapor in a desert. That's the reason it's a desert. So at night it gets extremely cold in deserts. And when you look at that, what happens is, you know, we're pumping more and more moisture into our air because our Earth is getting warmer and warmer. And we've had warmer temperatures than this by far on the planet before. We've had cold temperatures a lot colder than this. We just came out of an ice age 10,000 years ago. But the thing is, these temperatures don't go up drastically real fast, and they don't come down drastically, you know, real fast, except like right before the ice age usually start. So you don't usually have just an all of a sudden, you know, over a 100-year period, we're just escalating temperatures. Now, if you look at history, we haven't been checking the temperatures for thousands of years. I mean, we just haven't had the technology for it. But we do know in the last 100 years that if you go and you look at rivers, the rivers are eroding worse because there's more rain coming. And the rainfall is more intense in the southeastern part of the United States. Well, all that extra rain is because there's more water vapor in the atmosphere. So that means the Earth got warmer. Now, everybody will say, oh, but we're not doing any of this. Well, we are. I mean, there's no way that you can turn up the heat in a house and it's not going to get warm. And we're doing exactly that. And we threw extra covers over the planet by putting more CO2 out there. And we've also done it by actually putting the energy into the water and create more water vapor. So we're going to go over all that, and we're going to explain, you know, this is like a two-part segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to explain how we can get away from actually, you know, raising the temperatures on the planet up. Because what we do is we actually pump the energy out through fusion, or not fusion, but fission reactors. We've done some fusion with atomic bombs that we dropped, and that has tremendous amounts of energy. We've done what we burn coal, we burn oil, we burn anything that we can get our hands on. And we're not even talking about when this is a global energy consumption. This is what countries are using. This isn't talking about people in their backyard burning wood. This is not talking about people going out and burning, you know, different things like the forest fires and how much energy they produce or any of that. This is just what we use as far as natural gas and oil and coal and all the rest of the things that we're doing right now. Now, we do get some of our energy from sun and solar, but if you take the total energy that we burn every year, it's only about 1% of our total energy comes from the sun, and it comes from solar. Now, we get about 20% of our electricity from it, but we heat our homes with gas, we heat our homes with electricity, we burn coal, we burn oil for plants. If you've ever sit down and watched an asphalt spreader spread asphalt on roads, they use diesel fuel to heat that up with. I mean, it's the only thing they can use that will give them a nice constant flame. I mean, they're not electric. So we're burning a lot of fuel, and we're doing a lot of things like jet planes and jet fuel and all this energy goes into our atmosphere. And so what we're going to look at is like what we've done wrong, what we're doing right, and you know, and it's not the end of the world. It's not going to kill humankind if we get 10 degrees warmer. But you have to understand that like New Orleans isn't going to be there. The Everglades are going to go away. Most of your coast is going to go away. Your beaches are going to go away. And it may not be in my lifetime, but it will probably be in my child's lifetime that you'll see the erosion of all this. So, we need to take a big look at what we're doing. And, we don't need to have politicians or bought up by oil people tell us, hey, we're not doing anything. Because if we're not doing anything, just think about it. If you turn up the heat in your house, it doesn't get warm right away. And our planet's really big. And think about, this is just like a small fire that you're lighting in the house. Well, it's not going to get warm quick. It's going to take a long time, but we're doing that. Okay, behind me is what I like to call net sum zero energy. Because what you do with this energy is solar and it's wind. And when you look at the earth, everything is energy. I don't care what it is. There's energy in the water, there's energy in the air. So everywhere it's like an energy system. So when you evaluate it like an engineer would, and you say, okay, how much energy is in the Earth's system? Well, you had to count up how much is in all the water on the planet, how much is in all the ground on the planet, the plants. You would have to count up not what's stored in the ground, because that's potential energy. It's not energy that is actually going into your environment until we dig it up and then we start burning it. So, the energy has been there for millions of years. I mean, that's how it goes in. There's plants, animals, they die, they produce the coal, they produce the gas. So what happens is it takes a long time. Now, the reason we need to get away from coal, the reason we need to get away from gas and oil and all the rest of it is eventually you're going to go to the well and the well will be dry. There is only an X amount of oil, there's only an X amount of coal on the planet, and that's it. And once you burn it up, and it may be 200 years in the future, but it's going to be gone one day. In the meantime, you're burning all this energy that's been stored in the ground for millions of years. This is sunlight energy. This is from photosynthesis. And all that's happened is these plants have absorbed all that energy, and the animals have absorbed it. They've died, and it's been compressed into the ground, and that's what you're digging up, and that's what you're burning. And it's indirectly came from the sun. So that's the energy that you're taking that's been stored in the ground for millions of years, and you're pulling it out and you're pumping it into our environment. All right? But when you go in and you take solar, and solar will set down, and solar will take the power out of the sun that's coming to the earth now. It'll take the wind, the energy from the wind that is caused by the sun also, and it will convert it all into electricity. We store that power, okay? So what we're doing, we're going in and we're storing power that is directly in your environment right now. And then we're going to burn it all in the same day, just about, because we don't really have, you can never get enough solar and wind, unless you start building like crazy to actually go over what we use. We would have to really do a massive project for this. But then we're pulling the energy out of our environment, and then we're pumping it right straight back in. Because any energy is never created, it's never destroyed. That's the first law of thermodynamics. Law of conservation is what it's called. So what happens is the energy is always there. It doesn't go away. It will dissipate. That's what entropy is. It will just spread out, and the energy will just keep going and going. Now, the energy that we use, it always goes into a lower state. So I don't care what we do with it. We break it down. It's like air conditioning. We have air conditioners in houses. Well, Okay, so the air conditioner's in the house, and we're taking electricity and we're pumping the hot air out of your house and we're pumping outside into the environment. And that's okay. That's an even balance. If we could figure out how to draw the hot air out and pump it into the environment, because your house isn't perfectly sealed. So some of that cold air is going to escape, and that's the reason you have to run an air conditioner. But the thing is, with the air conditioners, we're also pumping electricity into it. The motors get hot, and that pumps even more energy into your environment. So you're always pumping heat out constantly. And these days, we are never without electricity. We're never without cars. We're never without airplanes. All of our energy all the time is being pumped into our environment. So if we actually build enough solar, we build enough wind, and we can actually figure out a way of storing it well, and we're working on that. We're coming a long way with batteries right now, and we can actually figure a way of storing all that energy so that when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, and we can actually balance that out, and we start running our cars off electricity, we could greatly reduce the amount of energy that we're digging up out of the ground and pumping into our environment. And we might actually see our temperatures start to fall. We've done better on the CO2. Our CO2 levels worldwide have gone down over the last few years. And that helps. But we've already done the damage. It's already been pumped into the atmosphere. So that's a greenhouse gas, and well, that's another blanket. But then after we've done this blanket, we've also pumped all of this energy into our environment. And we've also pumped energy other ways, and I'll go over that in the next session of this. And I'll explain what we've done to actually pump even more energy into our environment. And this keeps going on all the time, and we can't stop it.